Hey, I'm Booney Crawford of F.A.M.E. Ministries and Media Productions, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today I have a very special guest, one who holds a very special place in my heart, Ted Wilson. Most of you will know Ted from his days of being a choir director at Higher Ground and also down in Church Hill, but also most of you might recognize him as the head football coach at Dobyns Bennett. And I'm super excited today because Ted probably is one of the most influential people on me in ministry. So I'm excited for you to get to hear him and hear his story and his testimony. Today's video is being brought to you by my good friend Sonny Brown at Quality Heating and Aire. These guys are the best of the best. They are 4 years running as Reader's Choice Award winners in the Tri-Cities. And not only did we personally use Sonny for installing our system here at our own personal home, but we also use Sonny for all of our properties that we manage through the Crawford Property Group. They are highly ethical and moral, and they're good people, genuine people. You can follow them over on their Facebook page. You can look them up on YouTube, watch their videos. These guys are just great. And check out their website at qualityheatingandaire.com. And their slogan is, "Where quality still counts." And I can tell you from personal experience, their quality is top notch and top of the line. So I'll put all their information on the description down below. So check them out, give them a call for all of your heating and air needs. And I promise you, you will not be disappointed in their service. So I want to thank Sonny and Quality Heating and Air for blessing us and sponsoring today's video. And now, here's my good friend, Ted Wilson. Well, Coach, thank you so much for being with me today. I have been wanting to do this for so long, and when I first started doing these interviews, you were #1 on my list of people I wanted to be able to talk to and get your story. So thank you so much for taking time to
It's
be a part of this.
my privilege to do it, and I feel honored to get to do this with you.
Well, you are my #1 mentor that helped me in my beginnings of my ministry. So a lot of credit goes to you to instill that drive for serving the Lord. So I really appreciate you, and you'll always have a very special place in my heart.
Thank you. You and your family have meant a lot to us, and it's been a privilege knowing you.
Well, thank you so much. But I want to go back. We're here at Dobyns Bennett High School. You had a very long, successful career here, and I want to get into that in just in a minute. But first, I want to talk to you about your early days of your sports. What influenced you about sports, and why did you choose sports to go into?
Well, I was telling somebody the other day, when I was 12 years old, I was in Boy Scouts, and I had never played football or anything. But they had a football team, and so we were outside in the yard of the lady that had the scout team, and we were out there just playing around, and we had a kid that his name was Charlie Hedrick that went to UT later on, and was a scholarship player at University of Tennessee. And he was about 230 pounds, and I was 70 or 80 pounds. And so I made 2 or 3 pretty good tackles and finally got him down. And that was the thing that whetted my appetite for football.
Where was this? Where did you?
In Maryville.
Maryville.
Right.
So, you know, they always say that the #1 influence on students and in general is a coach. What stirred in you to want to be a coach?
Well, I had a great coach in high school. His name was Jim Renfro, and then his assistant was Ben Green. And both of those guys they won my heart. Then I went to Maryville College under Lomby Honaker, and I just felt like that if I could help kids become men, then that's what I wanted to do.
Well, obviously you've had a huge impact on a lot of student athletes, but in your coaching career, from the time you started till you retired, what changed? What was the biggest changes in football that you saw?
Well, change had really not started time I got out. It started soon afterwards, but the biggest things that happened were how parents reacted to a coach. I remember one time we went to Oak Ridge and scrimmaged at Maryville, and we just had we got kicked, and so I decided that I was not the boss anymore. So I stood up in the bus on the way back to Maryville from Oak Ridge, and I said, guys, I have told you about this long hair. Tomorrow, if it's not cut, I'll cut it for you. So the next day, I walked in. I borrowed some clippers from my barber. I walked in. Not a one of them had got their hair cut. But every one of them stepped up and says, I'll be first, coach. And I cut all their hair, short cut. And so, that was just my way of showing them that I was the boss. And, it was a lot of fun, back in those days. I never had a parent to get mad at me about that. In fact, one of the mothers, all she said was, my son ruined our pictures for my daughter's wedding the next day. And so, but she was good with it.
Well, you come to, where were you before you came to DB as a head coach?
Maryville.
Maryville?
Mm-hmm.
And
I was there for 20 years.
20, and how long were you here at DB?
11.
11.
Fans, we'd like to welcome back to Dobyns Bennett, former Dobyns Bennett High School football coach Ted Wilson.
Well, the football program, the sports program here at Dobyns Bennett and Kingsport in general is just amazing. I guess there's probably nothing more exciting than Friday night under these lights and
oh yeah,
the atmosphere. So talk a little bit about what it was like to coach here at DB.
Well, I remember the first night that I walked out and I saw the stands full. I can't explain how it made me feel. And I really feel like that this is the best job in the state of Tennessee. And people backed us on everything that we did. People offered to give us help in any way we wanted help. And the principal, the athletic director, everybody, anything you want, coach. I came in the spring, and so when I came here, we just getting ready to have a spring scrimmage. So I go up. I call Don Atkins, who was the athletic director at the time, and I says, Don, where is the paint machine? He says, what do you want the paint machine for, Coach? And I said, well, I need to paint the football field if we're going to scrimmage. He says, Coach, we've got a guy down there for every day of the week, and he says, he'll take care of that for you. So a little later on, I called him up and I says, where's our stadium clock? He says, what do you want that for? I says, well, I need to check it and make sure it works before the season starts. He says, Coach, that clock came back 2 weeks ago and it's ready to go. So everything that I wanted here at Dobyns Bennett, I got, and I had it before I even asked. And this was definitely the best coaching job in the state.
Well, I want to go back a little bit to how things have changed in sports. You know, from the time you started till the way you had to treat players at the end. And I know you talk a little bit about how it was parents really that you had to deal with. But I was talking to you a little bit earlier, and I hope that we can get the copy of this picture. But do you catch a lot of grief from that iconic picture of you grabbing that kid's face mask and pulling him in close? You know, I don't know if anybody can get away with stuff like that these days.
Well, you know, I never heard from his mom and dad about that picture. This was the best back that I had, and it was in the state championship game, and he dropped. We were ahead 21-0 at half. We was playing Brentwood Academy, and so at halftime, they've got the ball on about our 45 yard line, and he takes the wrong person on the option. Then the next time they had the ball, they punted to us, and he dropped the punt, and their kid picked it up and run it in. It's 21-14. So I said, I better get his attention. And so that was my way of getting his attention. And couple, 3 or 4 years later, I guess, another guy came in and took my place, and he was called in by the superintendent, and the superintendent said, "You grabbed a kid's face mask at Seville," and says, "I want you to tell me about it." He says, "Why did you not bring Coach Wilson in?" And he says, "'Cause Coach Wilson won the ball game."
Well, tell me a little bit. I mean, I know in sports, everybody wants to win. You know, that's the goal. You want to win. But talk to me a little bit beyond the field. What did you want to instill into your players that, you know, that not just in football, but just in life in general?
Well, I expected them to be very aware of their family situation, their church situation, their relationship with each other. All that was very important to me. And I always was talking about that to the kids. So they did a good job of that. And I had a kid that was in trouble with the law, and his dad came to me and he says, "Coach, would you let this kid stay out because he needs you?" So I kept him on. He ended up being a starter for me, and was just a great asset to our football team. And that kid now is well, he's a policeman for the state troopers, and so I felt like that I had something to do with him getting his act together.
You know, a lot of people, they just want somebody to care for them, right?
That's exactly right, and that's all this kid wanted.
I found out, I don't know if it was you that taught me this or told me this, but even in our ministry, that people just want to know that they're appreciated, and that they want to know that somebody is interested in them.
Yeah, right. I think that's the bottom line. That's you know, that's really not mind-boggling to me, because that's human nature, and human nature is what drives us all.
Well, I want to kind of change tunes here a little bit because everybody knows you in sports. They know you as Coach Ted Wilson. But I want to talk a little bit about your family. And you obviously did something right. And you've got 3 kids that are all in full-time ministry and or have been. And you know, that's a testament to you and to your leadership. But I want to go even farther back and talk a little bit about Miss Pat. How did you and Pat meet?
Pat and I was married for 65 years. One time we were living up here in Kingsport, and I had retired from Kingsport, and I asked her, I said, would you like to move to Florida? She says, whatever you think. So we took that, and she says, when I married you, she said, I told you that wherever you went, I go. And she says, that's not changed. She was the most loyal person that you've ever seen to me. And she was a great mom. You know, she wasn't but 4'11" and a little woman. And I remember Phil comes in one night, and he's about 5'10", and he sized her. And she says, I'm going to give you a whipping for that, Phil. He says, no, Mama. He says, I'm too big for you to whip. You're not going to whip me. She said, let me show you. She says, take that belt off. He took his belt off and handed it to her. She said, now you lay down on the bed. And she wore him out. And, you know, she was, like I say, she was 4'11", but she was tough. And whatever my kids became, she was the reason.
What a testimony. I know one thing, I know she could sure put a coconut cream pie together.
Oh, yeah.
Well, talking about Teddy, Phil, Joel, you know, and they're being in full-time ministry and touched a lot of people's lives down through the years, and it just carries on, you know, for you and for your family, and
Yeah.
you know, and I'm grateful. You know, they've impacted my life in some way.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned earlier, a lot of my ministry probably wouldn't be what it is had it not been for you. And you were probably known as one of the world's best delegators.
I've been accused of that many times.
You could delegate, and people would, it didn't matter what it was, and you would always make them enjoy doing whatever it was you told them to do.
When we did Judgment House at Higher Ground, if you didn't delegate it, it wouldn't get done. And so I sort of majored in that.
Well, and I'm very grateful how you allowed me, you would turn over things to me just to let me do them when we were early on in our ministry up there, and that's probably what influenced me. You and Phil Hoskins and Mark Grubb.
Right.
All 3 of you guys, tremendous influence on my life as far as ministry goes, and I'm very grateful and very thankful for it.
Thank you.
And I'll never forget this one night, you were not going to be in town. And you said, you guys take the Wednesday night service. So we did this thing and we pretended like the rapture had happened. And those kids were scared to death. They were wanting to go down to the sanctuary to find their parents and stuff like that. And you told me, you said, you got all these phone calls the next day saying, they're just up there scaring my kids. And you told us, well, do you want them to be scared now or scared later? But we didn't mean to cause you any grief for doing what we did, but we had a lot of fun in those days. And today,
we had some great fun there.
Yeah. Yeah, and even today when I do ministry, I always think back about what would Ted do? How would he do this? So, but talk to me a little bit why faith is so important to you.
What is?
Why faith is so important to you.
You know, if you don't have faith, you don't have anything. My faith hinges on Jesus, on what He's done for me, and what He says He'll do for me, and what is the results of me depending totally on Him. And as I see things going on today, there's not many people depending on Jesus. And I just feel strongly that you have to have faith.
How did you use your faith in your coaching? How did it influence what you did on the field?
Well, you know, I didn't browbeat my kids, but I was tough on them. But in the long run, I led quite a few of my kids to the Lord, and moms and dads knew what I stood for. The kids knew what I stood for, and I didn't have to preach that. They knew that this was, my faith was very important to me. Like if we had a Wednesday football practice, and I needed to go to prayer meeting, I'd just leave the other coaches with it, and I'd walk off the field and walk in the prayer meeting and the choir practice with my shorts on and t-shirt and tennis shoes. And so, you know, and I just left it with them.
Well, again, you really don't know what impact you've had on heaven until we get there. But I'm sure that down through the years, there's been a lot of student athletes who will look back and thank Coach Ted Wilson for the influence that you had on them as far as faith goes. Not just on a coaching level, but in a spiritual level. You know, the Bible teaches us to strengthen the inner man. And I'm sure you did a lot of that, strengthen those young men to be strong in the Lord. So I know a lot of people are going to be grateful for that. Let me ask you, what advice would you give to people who want to either go into coaching or be a part of sports programs? What based on your experiences, what advice would you give young people coming into the coaching career?
You know, as I see it now, Booney, any advice I would have for a coach wouldn't work now. Because, you know, coaches are letting kids get by with anything, and they're not the boss. And I think kids appreciate that in parents. They appreciate it in teachers. They appreciate it in their neighbors. And I just feel like that things have got to turn around if the world is going to be saved. I'm not talking about going to heaven saved. I'm talking about just saving the world.
Well, Coach, you just turned 90.
Yeah.
Lord's been good to you, and
Very good.
They've given you this football as a gift and had signatures on it. What does that mean to you?
Mickey Burton is probably one of the best friends I've ever had in Kingsport. And my kids called him and asked him if he could get people who played for me to sign this football. And he worked tirelessly to get this football signed by as many of my football players as they could. So these are names of kids that played for me, and that was in my 50s and 60s. And so this was a surprise to me when I got it. And I got another one that's from Maryville that did the same thing down there with some other people. but this was a great gift to me.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people I know appreciate Ted Wilson.
Thank you.
I would be at the top of the list.
Thank you so much.
But one final question, unless there's something that you want to add.
No.
Legacy. What does Ted Wilson want people to remember him about and for?
That I loved them. I showed love to my players as I was tough on them, but they understood that I was tough on them because I did love them. And I want people to remember me as being a person who gave his all to them. And I loved my church. I loved my choirs that I had. And I was just, it was a part of a big package, you know?
Well, I know a lot of people are going to remember Ted Wilson
Thank
for
you.
probably a whole lot more than what you just talked about.
Yeah, thank you.
And the influence that you've had on so many down through the years, I know my family is grateful. And even though the day that you took my son Dylan and you set him up on the hood of a car and punched him in the chest.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember
No.
that? I do. I said, it ain't no wonder he's as mean as he is the way y'all treat him up here. But yeah, I just want to say thank you.
Well, you know, I want to thank you for your ministry. I want to thank you for making your ministry count for something. And I just thank you for being my friend. Thank you.
I'm not just a friend, but a brother.
Right.
And I love you, Ted Wilson.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time to be with me. And I wish you the very, very, very best.
Thank you very much, bud. I
God
love
bless
you,
you.
bud. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being with me today here at F.A.M.E Ministries and Media Productions. What a joy it was to be able to sit down and talk with my mentor and my good friend and my brother, Ted Wilson. What a joy it was. I also want to thank my good friend Sonny Brown and those people over at Quality Heat and Aire. I hope you'll check them out, and if you ever need some services or you need a new heat pump, he's the guy to call. So check out my friends at Quality Heat and Aire, and thank you for sponsoring today's video. And if you're out there, please follow our pages on all social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Check them all out, and it would be an honor to have you to follow us and to like those pages, because the more people who like and follow those pages, the more the algorithm will promote us and get the word out to as many people as we can as we share the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So thank you again so much for being with us, and please get in touch with us if you'd like to sponsor one of our videos. We'd love to have you. God bless you. If no one has told you they love you today, I want you to know I love you with all my heart, and I love you in the Lord. So thank you again for being with me today. God bless. Until next time, see you later.